And now we have a new season of Love, Death, and Robots, which I also love.
I agree. I also love Death and Robots. However, Volume 4 was a little underwhelming for me. I was real excited that it was coming out because the first 3 volumes were amazing. Well, most of the episodes were amazing. I didn't like all the episodes, but the first 3 volumes overall were really good. And then 4 ended up being very, like I said, underwhelming. I was excited for it, and I didn't feel anything at the end of it. I thought they could have done better.
No, I would actually go a step further than underwhelming. I don't know if you're just trying to be polite, but I think that Volume 4 was extremely lazy, half-hearted, nothing hit the mark, and it's just like disgusting, like slop, basically. I mean, it took 3 years to make that. Just keep that in mind. It took 3 years to make these 10 shorts, and in my opinion, completely off the mark and very, very unwatchable. I would never watch any of them again.
Now, don't get me wrong. There was an episode or 2 in there that were pretty good. The first one, the very first one, the Red Hot Chili Peppers one with the puppets. I don't know why. I liked that song, but that video was just pretty interesting. I liked it. It was pretty neat.
The 2 big things that I would say is that, for one, the writers oftentimes start to feel invincible when they make a show and it pops off, and maybe they make another season and it's even more popular. And after this happens a couple times or a few times, I think they just feel like gods, and sometimes it can make them feel like, yeah, I could just write whatever and it's just going to be amazing. And they have so many people telling them that they're awesome and amazing, and then they just get lazy. They just stop putting effort and soul into their work. And another thing that I want to mention, and I may go into this a little bit more later, but I also think that sometimes, well, artists generally have opinions. They have ideologies and thoughts about the world, and they try to lace that into their work. And that's fine. In fact, that's great. That should happen. But sometimes the messages and the ideologies that people have stop becoming interwoven into their story, and it becomes just like a big rubber stamp on the front of it that's like, here's my message. And it like obscures the story, and then sometimes there isn't even a story to obscure. It's just a big rubber stamp of ideology, and I'll go into that a little bit more, but that's how I feel.
I think people are also riding the name. I mean, it's Love, Death, and Robots. So, I mean, automatically people think if you attach the name to it, it's going to be great, and that's not the case here with some of these. They felt rushed. They felt unfinished.
Which, it was in development for 3 years, so it should not feel rushed. It should not feel unfinished. And I agree with you. And yeah. I think you're kind of onto something with like the, riding the coattails of their own name. When Love, Death, and Robots first came out in 2019, you have to keep in mind this was a novel concept. It was it premiered on Netflix. People loved it. It was super unique. There was nothing else really like it. And then they had the second volume, third volume, and now a couple years later, fourth volume. So I feel like, to give the writers and creators the only credit that I'm going to give them this entire video, to lightning doesn't strike twice, and it certainly doesn't strike 4 times. There was going to be a point where they just can't keep the same level of quality out. And I feel like they tried to, which is why so much time was taken between volumes, but it just didn't work.
I love the idea of this anthology series because it's different little companies creating, a 10 to 15 minute art piece to show the world. And I love that they all come together. But, for the previous volumes, there was maybe 1 or 2 that were just, okay, and the rest were exceptional. But I felt like this season was more, maybe not even exceptional, just pretty good,
No, there was like 2 that I would say were mid, and then the rest were just garbage.
See, I don't use the word mid.
That's honestly, I'm too old to say mid. I'm sorry. There was 2
is mid just like right in the middle? Is that what that means? I mean, that's pretty obvious. Okay.
Just say middling.
There were 2 that were completely mediocre that I would still never watch again, and then there were some that I actively wish I could unwatch, like remove it from my brain, please.
I mean, there were some that had plot lines, and I'm like, what the hell are they talking about?
There were some didn't have a plot at all.
When we get into each individual episode, we'll dig deep into that. But
yeah, they went to some whack, strange, pointless places this season. But I do think that there were some standout episodes that were stronger than others. The thing is, like, I feel that the best episodes from this season would be the worst episodes in any other season. So, like, every season that's come out so far of Love, Death, and Robots, there are some that I really like, and there are some that I am, like, very ambivalent towards. I don't really have any feelings about them. And it's meant to be that way. It has a diverse set of styles and tastes in it. But yeah, this time it's like it's just a bunch of misses and then a couple that were like almost something but just still not there.
It's half baked. That's the best way to put it. Like, there wasn't a single idea. So even the stories that were based off of short stories, they still felt like half completed. I mean, that's kind of a common theme throughout all of this. The only thing that had a finite beginning, middle, and conclusion was the Red Hot Chili Peppers music video. That's it.
I thought that was pretty good.
Well, let's talk about it. We're episode 1, Can't Stop, Red Hot Chili Peppers.
I expected that it was going to actually be a story, but it ended up just being a concert of puppets, and the fact that they were marionettes was just, that was very interesting to me, and it made me chuckle. And I love the Chili Peppers, so I mean, I was singing along to the song, and the faces on these guys were pretty realistic too, and I couldn't get over the quality of this one. This by far was probably, in my opinion, the best one. It wasn't my favorite, but it was the best one of this season.
That's so sad.
I know, and that's terrible because all it was just a concert video. But I loved when the puppets were flashing and they did the detail on all that, and when they were holding the lighters, how big the lighters were compared to the marionettes and the strings catching on fire. It was pretty well done. I thought it was a good start to the season, and it got me excited. But as I said, it felt like it crested right off the rip, and then just dive bombed.
Right, but they don't really go anywhere with the video. You're talking about how it's cool that they're marionettes. They don't do anything with the fact that they're marionettes. They're just randomly marionettes.
It's just a concert video. There's no story behind it.
Okay, so why is a supposed cutting-edge anthology series making a music video for this old man geriatric band of like a 30-year-old song, and it just does nothing? And then in the final scene, they're just
hey, watch your tone, man. That's my childhood you're talking about.
Dude, you're like 5 years older than me. You got to stop pulling the age card,
I am not 5
man.
years. That is not 5 years older than you, bro. Don't do that. No, I mean, it does make sense. I was going to say the same thing, albeit that it is the Chili Peppers, and a lot of people love the Chili Peppers. It didn't feel like it belonged in this series. It didn't feel like it was supposed to be there. It felt like somebody was...
debut as well. It's episode 1. It's like, guys, it's been 3 years. We're back with a music video for a very old song.
No, dude, it felt like a brand deal. Like at the very end, I was half expecting them to like advertise like toothpaste or something. I really don't know.
I was waiting for them to like drinking a Pepsi or something, for advertising. I agree with you there.
Yeah, that was like Super Bowl ad level of like degeneracy there. But speaking of that word degeneracy, I'm gonna go back to it a lot. And there's something that this season falls back on over and over and over again. And that is degeneracy. Whether that be just like sexual themes or like just gross fart jokes or poop jokes or just very like immature heathenry. That is the fallback of this season. And in this very first episode, we do have that at the... you have the boobs flashing, and you also have at the end all 4 of the band members just with their swinging you-know-whats walking together naked on stage. I'm like, I am off-put. I am off-put at the very start. Like, I was so excited to watch a new season of Love, Death, and Robots, and this little 6-minute opener already was just like, what am I watching right now? And yeah, I was also very frustrated that they had this idea to animate everyone as marionettes, and then they had no further implications. Which like there are inherent implications when you make your characters a puppet that implies the existence of a puppeteer, and it doesn't go anywhere with it.
Yeah, like I liked the concept of the marionettes. I thought it was going to be cool, but again, it was like it's like they made them marionettes just for the sake of making them marionettes. There should have been some kind of story behind it. It's hard for me to judge this one because, like I said, I love the Chili Peppers, and I want to say I loved it, but it was just, it didn't seem like it fit. It didn't seem like it belonged in the show. And it was just somebody who had a little bit of free time, who's a Chili Peppers fan, who made a video and just happened to get it submitted into this. But
I feel like I should say to the viewers, from this point on in the video, we're going to go pretty hard on these shorts. So if you feel like you're going to have an issue with us doing that, you can go ahead and go watch Moist Critical or Asmongold right now.
And just remember, these are our opinions. It doesn't mean this is fact. Doesn't mean this was a bad show. This is just our opinion.
No, it is.
It does mean it's a bad show.
Objectively, it's a bad show.
Second episode. Oh goodness.
Yeah. See, okay. That's why I gave the disclaimer.
So, while I felt, like sort of off put and just kind of confused by episode 1, I just felt kind of pointless, kind of like pointlessly degenerate. The second episode really, really made me like, this is gonna be bad. Okay, so people have probably watched this, or if they haven't, whatever. I'll just try to briefly give my impression of what the second episode is.
Wait, we need to introduce it. So the second episode is called Close Encounters of the Many Kind, and it's directed by Robert Beasy and Andy Lyon, and it's written by those same people.
If you remember from Volume 3, you had Night of the Mini Dead. Are these the same? Is this the same company that did that one?
Yeah.
Yes, and I believe they also, I could be wrong, but I believe they also did the mini fridge one.
Ice Age,
yeah, Ice Age. Okay, and so just a brief thing. The miniature animation style where they make everything look tiny and it's going in fast motion. Okay, it's kind of cool. In Ice Age, they had a reason for using that animation, for it being present, which was that it made sense for the story. The story was that there's this couple that finds a miniature world in their freezer, and it's literally a tiny world inside of a freezer. And so that's like the cool aspect of the animation style, is you're like, oh, look, it's a little miniature world that's operating in fast motion. And the story actually has a sort of a point to it. Their sequel, The Night of the Mini Dead, was kind of just pointless. It didn't really have a reason for being in that mini style. And the same thing goes for this one. There's no reason for this story to exist, for it to be miniature. It's just that they figured out an animation style that people like, and so they're still using it. But the story of this episode is so brain-rottingly, ideologically driven, and absolutely worthless. So literally, it's just aliens show up, and they're talking to a group of cops. They're like being obviously friendly and peaceful, and then the cops say, "He's got a gun!" and they just start shooting him. And as they're just bleeding and running for their life and begging for mercy, the cops are just shooting them and shooting them and shooting them, because all cops are pigs, right? Right? That's what the creators of the show think. And then the final cop dies, killing himself while killing an alien. So automatically I'm like, what is going on? The second snippet is of a farmer basically having sex with a cow and being interrupted by the aliens to be abducted and then get butt raped by the aliens. And we see it in intimate detail, because farmers are just disgusting, gross human beings, right?
Yeah, farmers provide nothing for this country. Farmers are absolutely worthless. They don't put food on your plate or anything like that. They rape their animals, and that's all they're good for. They buy them to breed with them, and then that's really it.
I want to ask you guys, since we're talking about this episode, how closely were you paying attention to this episode?
Very. Like, my eyes were glued to the screen and my hand was in my pants.
Okay. Because you realize when the alien came down and opened his robe and the cop said he's got a gun and shot him, he shot off the alien's dick. Did you guys notice that?
Oh, yeah, that's just more of that added disgusting sexual edgy humor that does nothing.
But the thing that makes me chuckle about this episode, and I'm sorry for taking over the narrative, but this is what fears me about aliens, is I feel this is exactly what we would do. Like, they would show up and we would shoot them. And this is how I feel it would turn out. As far as the rest of the episode is garbage, but this is the only thing that resonated with me was the fact that this is exactly how we would act. They would show up and we'd be like, kill them all, squash them like roaches. And I thought that part of it was funny.
If they land in Russia, that's definitely what'll happen.
See,
if they land here, that's what's going to happen.
No, listen. That actually makes no sense whatsoever. If we're talking about a species that has advanced to the point where, intergalactic wormhole travel is possible with their technology, they're not going to land on some planet without knowing every single possible danger. And if they do land, they're not going to be defeated by these little metal-controlled explosions that we have handheld when they have the technology to literally, like, create a black hole. That's so I'm not letting the writers get away with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, and the thing is, okay, there's a lot of things that taken by themselves without any context could have been decent jokes or just something that I would give a pass to. But when you take everything into consideration, so especially if you take the whole season or the whole volume into consideration, but even just the full episode, the thing like with the cops, it wasn't just a throwaway joke. There is an ideological reason for that being included. And it's clear because of how many things like that there are in the episode. So you have cops being, evil, aggressive people for some reason, and then getting killed for it. And that's supposed to be like cathartic. And then you have a farmer being a disgusting animal rapist and then getting what he deserves because of that. And that's supposed to be catharsis. You see the Statue of Liberty get knocked over, and you also see that it's the United States of the world, I think. There's a sign somewhere that says that, which is, of course, to imply that the United States is, like, imperialistic and is trying to take over the world, and, it's just basically, this episode is just anti-Western, anti-police, anti-American propaganda.
It's anti-human.
Anti-human as well, because all of humanity, of course, is destroyed. It just packaged in a like sexually juvenile package. There's no reason for this to exist, and I hate it.
And you left out the best part. All of that, everything you just said, builds up to a singular fart joke, and that's it. That's the conclusion of the episode. That's what we were supposed to take from it. Is a fart, bro.
No,
seriously, think about this for a second. The episode.
That's what it was. It was a fart joke.
The episode starts with a dick joke. Midway through, there's an animal rape joke, and then at the end, there's a fart joke. Like, these people are
and several butt sex jokes as well. Like, we have to watch the animal rapist get.
It's almost like this episode's written by a 12-year-old.
A very ideologically extreme 12-year-old.
Like I said, downhill. It's the beginning of a downhill slide.
Well, all right, we can move on to Spider Rose, episode 3. I personally feel like this is one of the lower points of the volume, and it's not nearly so like ideologically abrasive, but it's more so just really boring, and I don't think the plot makes any sense. I don't know if you guys felt the same way.
I will throw in with some positive here. I did like the animation style, but that was all I liked from this video. I thought it had potential with the animation style, and I was like, this might be decent, but the story was it was so stupid.
It looked like a Halo cutscene, which I thought was kind of cool, I guess. But yeah, the 17-minute runtime really dragged on. I thought it was pretty boring. The story was also very hard to follow, and I will say it's based in the same universe as another short from Love, Death, and Robots, which I can't remember that one off the top of my head. But so
the alien appears in a different episode, right?
Okay, so I'm assuming there's some context that's left out, but yeah, really hard to follow. And I'm not going to say that like there was any hot button political ideology stuff going on here, but I do think the overall message of the episode is ultimately really reductive and anti-human again to an extent. And I know that she's not a human, but she's humanoid and she represents humans. So we'll probably get into that in a second. But if you guys want to just talk about how the episode actually goes, we can get into that.
I thought the animation looked familiar.
Wait, is Swarm is the one where they live? The scientists go into the like the biological crazy planet thing. Okay, I actually liked Swarm decently well.
Yeah,
Um,
Swarm was good. I liked Swarm from Volume 3.
Well, it's just
I
showing
think
you
it
how they
just,
fell off.
yeah, I think it really shows how the same animation studio,
I
again and
was
again,
I'm glad you mentioned. I didn't know. I mean, I thought the animation looked familiar, but I never connected it to a previous episode.
You're
right?
welcome.
But yeah, it's just like a lot of these episodes are follow-ups to previous episodes from previous volumes, done by the same studios. But instead of having interesting, engaging plot lines, they are just lazy, pointless, reductive, derivative, worthless garbage. I mean, the story of this is just like a half robot girl is mourning the loss of her husband, so she's depressed. An alien gives her an alien pet. She likes the alien pet. The guy who killed her husband comes and she's like, revenge! And kills the guy, but he also kills her. Her pet eats her. The end. What is that? What is that plot? Like, compare
Yeah.
that to the Swarm, where it's like, there are these interesting questions of humanity of like, are we superior to this like sort of hive-minded organism that exists in space?
Yeah, so let's break down the messaging, or at least how we interpreted the messaging. So I interpreted what they were trying to say as, through the grieving process, a pet can help you. I mean, that's me kind of taking it literally. And she sort of comes to terms with her grief and then allows her pet to consume her, and then it becomes a part of her, or a part of her is in the pet, because it's this alien creature that whatever it eats, it forms a cocoon, and then when it comes back out of the cocoon, it has like some aspect of what it ate. So it eats her, and then when it comes out of the final cocoon, it sort of looks like her. So if you really want to break that down, it's like your pain, your trauma can be absorbed by a pet or something that is not like you, and then it will continue to live on after you're already dead. And that's the most charitable interpretation I can give. But if you want to take it at face value, it's just like, I hate my life, I'm depressed, my boyfriend's dead, I'm gonna let my pet literally consume me, and then it's just over. This is definitely a reach, but you guys have probably heard that when people die in their homes and they're not discovered for weeks, their cats and dogs can eat them, and that actually happens a lot. And I think that the message is anti-progress, anti-overcoming trauma. It's literally just like give in and be consumed, and something that is left after you will move on, but you won't. Like, it's so strange of a message to me. How did you interpret it?
I think the message is very confused and almost not really present. I mean, it's and just conflicting. Um, on the one hand, you have the revenge storyline. Like, she gets attacked. I don't remember if she lures her husband's killer to her base, but she gets attacked by that person, which in that case I understand why she would fight back. But she specifically talks about like having unfinished business. Like, there's a scene where she says, oh, there's still people out there who care about me. Maybe I should not just like isolate myself in my grief. And then she's immediately after that, she's like, but actually, I have unfinished business with my husband's killer and I need revenge. And so automatically, that's definitely one thing that they're going for, is like pro revenge. But then the whole pet thing and the healing just kind of doesn't go along with it very well. Like, I would have thought that she should have tried to save the pet. Like, she's fallen in love with this little creature, and then her base comes under attack. What should have happened is that she should have let go of her chance at revenge and exchanged that for being able to protect the pet and escaping with her life and the pet's life. And that would have been a symbol of letting go of the past and moving forward into your future with something that you care about and recovering from your mourning. That's a real story, and I just came up with that on the fly. I mean, what they did doesn't make any sense. It's internally inconsistent and just confused.
Yeah, I think we're about ready to move past this one. There's not really much to say. It's just 17 minutes long. It's boring. It makes no sense. It's just worthless.
Yeah. And there's, of course, there's robot socket nipples for some reason. every episode, I swear, in this volume is just like, oh yeah, but we need to add more nudity and penises. Episode 4, 400 Boys. I feel probably the most ambivalent about this one.
I fucking hated this one.
Hell
Really?
yes, dude.
God damn,
Yes,
this one was
dude.
so stupid.
It was so stupid. It was so bad, man. I hated this one.
The animation reminded me of the one where they were, I guess, running from the space whales. So the animation reminded me of that story.
It's the same story.
Okay.
Yeah.
But this story was so fucking stupid.
Thank God. Yeah, it was so bad, bro. I'm glad you agree with that. This one was ass. I hated the animation style. It was like off-brand 3D, 2D Samurai Jack, like, and all the characters were supposed to have so much swag with their dumb, ugly UK accents. I hated it.
The UK accents did get to me a little bit, and I agree that the plot is like very dumb. I don't understand why they're fighting giant babies.
Why are they murdering babies?
Dude, and the telepathy that's just there for no reason. There's a lot of stuff in it that I think is really stupid. Personally, I think that the art style is visually kind of interesting, and especially in the fight scenes towards the end, I was engaged. I was like kind of enjoying the beat. I thought there was some slight redeeming qualities to it, but I certainly wouldn't say it was good. If this existed in any of the other seasons, I would probably say it was the worst in the season.
I don't have anything positive to say about this. It was agonizing to get through. Like this was how I interpreted the story. So these swaggy, telekinetic like band of brothers with one like sniveling coward in the corner or like trying to load a gun with their mind for some reason, presumably to all take their own lives, which I would have actually enjoyed that. But then some like random like grown up version of Dexter looking guy comes in and he's like, we got to fight the 400 boys. And then they just go meet up with the droid BBL Nicki Minaj rollerblading chicks, and then they just go murder giant babies, and then it's over. That's literally the story.
Yeah, the story is worthless.
This was definitely an L.
All right, well, let's move on. Episode 5, The Other Large Thing. I like certain aspects of this episode. I thought it looked amazing when there weren't humans in the shot. Okay, the humans were just, we'll get to that, but I thought the cat looked great. The shot where he's like looking out the window and it's storming outside and the condensation and you can see his reflection in the window as he's like plotting his evil cat plans, I enjoyed that. And in terms of story, it's pretty bare bones, but I think there's slightly more story to it than a lot of the other episodes. Just the idea that a cat wants to take over the world and he utilizes a helping robot in order to, well, take over the world. I mean, it's not much, but it's something. Yeah, he's got thumbs.
There was no arc. Like, he didn't even have to convince the robot. The humans just brought it home, and he was basically like, yeah, do whatever I say, and we're also going to kill every human. So that kind of leads me to my main criticism of the episode.
The humans treated him like crap, so he was like, yeah, I'm all for it.
Okay, but that leads me to my main criticism of the episode, which is it's more of that anti-human rhetoric, where like the two humans who are prominently featured in the episode are like these disgusting slovenly like freaks who just like are like fucking each other and eating food, like disgustingly shoving it into their faces, and they can't do anything for themselves, and like their own pet wants to literally kill them, and it's just like so easy to convince the robot to want to kill them and lock them in their house and burn them to death. But it's just the humans are portrayed so disgustingly that it's clearly anti-human. Another thing that didn't make sense is like they tried to make the two humans look like these uneducated, disgusting trailer trash, yet they're living in a house with like a lot of expensive appliances. They can afford a robot. They can afford an expensive Persian cat. They can afford.
Dude, it's all just going on credit. They're just building credit debt.
It's just dumb. All of it's dumb. I guess one thing that I did like about it is it was seen as a negative thing that they castrated the cat, and I actually don't think you should neuter or fix animals. I don't really agree with that, but it's just dumb anti-human stuff.
I'm against cropping ears and tails.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's some interesting stuff. So once again, this episode is a sequel, sort of. Well, in this case, it's a prequel to another episode made, by the same studio. This is in the same world as the Three Robots episodes. And it's a prequel. In the Three Robots, they find out that the human world, which is, rotting, it's ancient, the apocalypse has already happened. They find out that it was basically the cats took over the world. I feel like, I don't remember, it's been so long, but I feel like it was more insinuated that humans killed themselves off and cats just kind of like took their place.
It was.
Okay. And so, and here's the thing. Okay, again, like I mentioned, taking things in a vacuum without context versus in the context of the larger show. In the Three Robots episode, early in the volume, when all of the I'll say anti-humanity rhetoric, okay, before that was so prevalent, there were minor anti-humanity things sparsed here and there. Like in the Three Robots, they were basically making fun of human things. They were like talking about appliances and being like, oh, well, that doesn't make any sense. But it was lighthearted. It wasn't a serious criticism of like, yeah, humanity is literally deserving of everyone dying because it's so just like beyond repair. No, it was dumb stuff just like, oh, why do they digest food when they could just have a machine digest it for them? Like, I guess I'm just trying to say the ideology and the rhetoric of the earlier seasons was a lot more lighthearted and a lot more pro-humanity. And now it's just like, yeah, look at these disgusting humans. Isn't it great that the cat is just going to kill them all? Like, yeah, but again, okay, so this episode is done by a studio that did pretty decent stuff before, and now it's just lazy, honestly contradictory with the earlier work, and just really strange rhetoric that I don't like. But yeah, let's move on. Oh, luckily this one doesn't have any like political or ideological connotations. Golgotha. This one is just very safe, just doesn't offend anyone, doesn't say anything about anything.
This was the first one I watched, and it was my first taste of just how like absolutely reductive, contrived, just like nothingness. You know what? The type of edginess that they went for and that they did in this series, I'm gonna call it safe edgy. So it's like it's edgy, but it's things you're allowed to make fun of. It's things you're allowed to question. It's things that everyone questions and no one cares about. It's things that you could spit on and genuinely nobody cares. So in this episode, that's, the military, human beings as a whole, religion, and, it just says animals are superior, aliens would always be morally superior, and all of our ideas about religion are just like so incorrect. We should be worshiping like mollusks in the ocean.
Yeah, there's nothing edgy or brave or pioneering at all about this volume of Love, Death, and Robots. And that's something that really bothered me, was when I was looking at reviews. First off, every critical body is just like 3 thumbs up for Love, Death, and Robots Season 4. And I'll let you figure out what the third thumb is. But no one says anything negative about this show. Rotten Tomatoes gave it 100% rating. That is the decree of holiness, of perfection, according to Rotten Tomatoes, compared to a 37% audience score, by the way, which I'm not going to say the audiences generally have great taste, but a gap like that should tell you something. IGN gives it 8 out of 10 and calls it daring. It is not... There's nothing daring about the show. It is as safe as could be.
No, there is nothing daring about it. And let me cut in here because I want to say something. So earlier today, I came across a post online that was not talking about Love, Death, and Robots, but I think what they were saying is perfectly applicable to what we're talking about. So I have it here. Let me read this quote for you guys. There's something so asexual about left-coded degeneracy. It's HR approved, free from danger, maximally inclusive, corporate Memphis-like. It's juvenile, comedically gross, full of play pretend power dynamics, childishly rebellious against some real or imagined Christian father. Now, I don't agree with that to a T, and I also don't know who this person is that said this, so if they're actually some, like, you know,
bad person,
I don't, associate with them in any way. But I like what they said in the very beginning, how left coded, and I won't say left, I'll say liberal coded degeneracy is like HR approved, can't push any actual boundaries, and it's just operating within things that were controversial maybe like 38 years ago, 50 years ago, and that's like the extent. So it's like anti-Christianity, which I'm not even religious, but it's just so cringe at this point. So it's anti-Christianity, anti like human progress. It just seeks to beat you down, and it's just really heavy on like the bodily function humor, and meaning like sex is funny, jacking off is funny, like shitting on yourself and being a disgusting freak is funny. It's yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, and that'll definitely come back up, especially with episode 9. But no, I 100% agree. There's something so just soulless about this modern sort of pretend world that exists in, it's really all of the modern like mainstream, I shouldn't say mainstream media because that means something else, but like Disney, Amazon, Netflix, all of these
corporate.
Yeah, it's just this like washed out corporate, like it's very, very safe, but at the same time like disgusting. But because everyone's doing it, it's safe to do it, and it grosses me out. I don't know.
It's become the norm nowadays. I mean, we as time goes by, we push boundaries more and more. You guys probably don't remember because you're so young, but back in the day, you couldn't say cuss words on TV. Like USA, they blurred out. You couldn't even say ass. And nowadays, you hear the word shit, ass, fuck. All that's on TV now because we keep pushing the boundaries of our moral limitations and keep allowing this stuff to happen. That it becomes, this is what it becomes. It becomes humorless. Fart jokes are our norm, and what used to be taboo is now normal,
Yeah, and let me say this. I need to cut in for like 1 second. So I'm not, with what I just said, I'm not trying to say that like things right of center are like inherently funny. I'm not saying that at all. There's a lot of extremely like, right-wing coded things that are attempting comedy that just fall completely flat. And it's honestly for the opposite of the problem I'm talking about. But with these like mass-produced, like mass-funded, very well-loved Netflix shows, it's the opposite end of the spectrum. It's like the safe, liberal, like don't pop my bubble type comedy.
When a lot of comedy is based on putting something down, right? A lot of comedy is making fun of something, and that putting it down is probably not the right word. It's more so just like making light of it or making fun of some trait. So if you watch like comedy movies from the 90s and the 2000s, there was a lot of comedy that was, the jokes were directed at maybe someone's race or maybe their sexuality. There's a lot of gay jokes in the 90s and 2000s. Maybe it would be like their appearance or something. And this thing happened where people were like, well, when you have these like inherent traits that people can't really change about themselves, we shouldn't be making fun of that because that makes those people feel bad when they watch that. And I mean, that's a valid criticism to some extent. Like, I do think that everything can be made fun of, but at the same time, you should probably be at least somewhat aware of like not being offensive to marginalized groups. And so, okay, we evolved to the point where you can't make jokes about any marginalized group. So instead, we'll just start making jokes at the expense of the majority groups. The issue is it's not funny. It's not funny because like when you make jokes about like this isn't really a good example, but if you make a joke like trying to make fun of straight people, most people are straight. Where are you going to find the humor in that? And it goes for everything. And so there's this like modern, you know, sort of left of center version of comedy, which is like you can't say anything that says anything bad about a marginalized group, but you could say whatever you want about majority groups, including, for instance, police officers. Like, it's okay to literally, like, say that police officers deserve death, and that's supposed to be funny. I don't know why. But, ha 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 ha, cops shoot people for no reason. Ha ha, watch them die. Ha ha. It's not funny. It's nothing. And this is the culture that exists now.
There's funny ways to make fun of white people. There's funny ways to make fun of cops. There's funny ways to make fun of straight people, but you have to still exit this like HR, PR safety bubble and actually push some boundaries with it and say some things that people aren't used to hearing. You can't repeat the same cops are pigs joke 1,000 times. You can't repeat the same straight people have bad hygiene jokes 1,000 times. And like, I don't think that comedy is taking a marginalized group and just like calling them a slur or saying that they're bad or like separating them. I don't really think that that's not what you're getting at here. That's not what we're getting at here. We're just saying that if you box yourself in to this like eternal self-flagellation, I'm disgusting, you're disgusting, we're all disgusting, let's laugh at our own disgustingness type comedy, it will never evolve. It will just like stay within this box and just start reeking of all the disgusting bodily function, bored, tired jokes. And it will just never, like, you will never captivate an audience that way. Nobody, no grown adult is sitting in front of their television, like hearing a fake fart sound effect from your stupid mass funded TV show and cracking a smile. That is not happening. And if they are laughing at that, then they need to be somewhere monitored by doctors.
I think I may be able to clarify what I was saying a little bit better, because of course this is a contentious topic and a dangerous topic. And
did you say self-flatulation?
Flagellating.
Flagellating.
Like whipping yourself. Like it's this comedy where it's like, haha guys, all I do is smoke weed, I don't take showers, I've never been on a date, my parents don't talk, they hate me. And yeah, you can all relate to that, right? That's what I mean by self. It's like this just beating yourself, self-deprecation, just beating yourself into the ground because you think that's good. That's no, oh yeah, that's what it is. The safest way to like push a boundary is to push it with yourself. The only problem is that's not funny. That's why all of these like left of center comedians are like, every day I want to kill myself. And that's just like
what is it, Amy Schumer? They would just make fat jokes all the time.
No, yeah, Amy Schumer is one of like the worst comedians ever.
It's not funny to make fun of yourself like that. It's just like, okay, you're just describing your bad qualities. But okay, let me try and rephrase something though. Like, when I talk about a lot of comedy being based on like making fun of a marginalized group, maybe a different, better way that I could put it is a lot of comedy comes from saying unexpected things and saying things that are not supposed to be said, or you're probably not supposed to say them. So there's things that people may think, that people may observe, and they won't say it because it's incorrect to say it. It's either offensive or politically incorrect or whatever. And then when a comedian says something and makes some observation about some group of people, then it's like, oh, everyone was thinking that, but no one was saying that, right? That's a lot of what comedy is based on. And when you basically say, okay, here's all the things that you can't make jokes about, and here's a bubble of things that you can make jokes about. Now just make jokes in this bubble, okay? Okay, guys, start making jokes in this bubble. Well, you can't say anything unexpected or inside of that bubble, you cannot say anything unexpected.
And just so these people know that I'm being intellectually honest about this, there's a series out right now. It's actually just wrapping up its 4th season, and it makes fun of straight white televangelist Christians and they do it flawlessly. It's Danny McBride's The Righteous Gemstones.
Oh, Righteous Gemstones. I love that show.
Yep.
Fantastic.
That is almost peak comedy, and you know why? It's because the writing is so good. It's not just lazily saying, "Oh, straight people, the Christians." It's actually, they sat down, put pen to paper, and wrote out really elaborate plot lines, arcs, and jokes, and character design and development that is amazing. So I'm not just the guy that's like, "Oh, don't make fun of what I am." That's not the case at all. It just so happens that people left of center, I'm not going to say leftists, but people like left of center and like this liberal progressive zone are just not funny. I'm sorry, especially if they just choose to stay within that. Like there's very plentiful ways to make fun of the people that they actively want to make fun of, but they just like can't do it because they can't get out of like fart joke territory.
Yeah, no, that's very true. And like everything that I was just very clumsily trying to say is really like only one small angle of comedy. And you're right, like you could set a bubble and still within that bubble make a fantastic comedy. There is such a thing as safe comedy. I just watched The Croods recently. It's a kids movie. It's rated like G or PG, and I think that's hilarious. There's some great jokes in there. Yeah, you absolutely don't need to like make jokes at the expense of someone, or certainly not at the expense of a marginalized group, but it's the safe mindset of the corporate sphere of producers where it's like, okay, you can make fart jokes and butt jokes and like, I hate police jokes, and that's all that you can do. It's like, okay, that's great. But anyways, that was a long detour, but we were going to talk about Golgotha with the priest and the dolphin.
The first thing I noticed about this episode is the dialogue was very, like, it felt forced. It felt like the characters were not confident in their lines at all. Like when the priest gets out of the car and he's talking to the, military officer or whoever, and the guy's this is how he's delivering his lines. He's like, "Yeah, they're coming down from space, so don't f it up." And I'm just like, bro, what? Like there's no emotion. It felt fake, cardboard. The priest character was just like this sniveling coward who just is like so like not confident in his words. He's basically just being marched out there for no reason because the Lupo, the aliens from space, have already concluded basically that they're going to destroy Earth. They already have a fleet deployed over Earth ready to just like eviscerate the planet. So the priest doesn't even say anything. The alien comes down, takes the priest out, walks on the beach for 5 minutes. It makes absolutely no sense. Then the true God, which is actually a dolphin, comes out of the water and says, "Kill all humans because they killed us before." And then that's exactly what happens. So it's just saying this, and the tentacled alien whips the priest to the ground and says, "Kneel before the Messiah." Like that was supposed to be some powerful message. Like, your God is fake. Our dolphin God is real. Christians get owned. And that's basically the entire short.
Yeah, that was a pretty great synopsis. It really, the plot is not even a plot. It's just saying humans deserve to die because of what they've done to the environment. There's plenty to be said about humans destroying the environment. There's plenty that has been said about that. There are many, many both shows and movies that revolve around modern society's callousness towards nature and the damage that we've done. This is something that is talked about and regretted by many, many people. And I also think that, like, we keep going back to political stuff, but I think that people on the left oftentimes think that conservatives, like, don't care about the environment at all. And I think that that's a mischaracterization where, like, actually a lot of the people who have been the most affected by environmental changes are rural people who are generally conservative, because they're the ones who, like, live literally downstream of, like, coal mining communities where they're drinking acid water and, like, getting cancer from all this stuff. Like, and yeah, it's just a stupid, like a real, like a genuine message of, like, yeah, humans destroy the environment, bad, but with nothing else, no depth, no like backup evidence. It's literally just you're with us or you're not with us.
So I think a very powerful piece of media that really describes and dives into the relationship between humans and other species on this planet and where we fall into the hierarchy is a manga slash anime called Parasite the Maxim. And I know that, we're talking about an 8-minute short versus like a 30-hour series. But if you're looking for something deep that actually has a genuine message about like how humans treat animals and where we fit into the mix, Parasite the Maxim is a very, very good piece of art that you should consume if that's something you're into.
Yeah, well, and there is no thoughtfulness in this episode. There's no even attempt at it. The humans aren't meant to be sympathetic. It is supposed to be like they are getting what they deserve. They are being destroyed, and they deserve to be destroyed. Humanity is devoid of any reason to exist. What it has done is so evil that there's nothing redeeming about humanity, and it should be gone. And that is obviously the ideology held by the creators of this show, and the ideology, I think, held by a lot of producers of this time.
But look at, and you're right, and let me piggyback off that. Look at who is killed first. The people who are killed first are multiple religious figures and multiple military people. So it's like religion, killed by the aliens immediately. Military, killed by the aliens immediately. Like, what are we really trying to say here? And this is so crazy because this show is making me seem like I'm one type of person that I'm actually not, but the audience is going to think I am. But that's okay. Dude, I'm not even religious, man. I'm not. Like,
I'm not either.
Like,
I'm not religious. I'm not even really conservative. But, like, this show is radicalizing me. I'm going to go to church on Sunday.
I'm kind of agreeing with you. It seems like it's a lot of people preaching about their personal beliefs and personal thoughts and how we should be acting. I picked up on that message almost immediately. This was these guys were live action. I was kind of excited that they were going to mix the animation with live action, but the story was terrible. I didn't get it at all. It was bad. So I don't have much to say about this one.
So this is how the idea came to fruition. So the writer was like, dude, what if like the priests and the military are the bad guys and like the tentacle alien people realize that dolphins are God? And then he posted about that idea on Reddit. He made it into a short.
Dude, yeah, it's so confusing.
That little 20-minute speech right there was more entertaining than the episode itself.
I don't understand why it was structured the way it was, of like the aliens are coming down to have a meeting with a priest. They've requested like a religious figure, I guess, to talk to, and then they take them to the shore and they're like, our dolphin god has risen from the dead. Bow to our dolphin god. And then the dolphin goes, and then he goes, he has spoken. We're killing you. I just don't understand the structure of like the thought process there.
No, it doesn't make any sense because so the aliens don't believe that the Christian God is real or that the Christian religion at all is real by any means. This would be like a Christian like requesting to speak with a Scientologist so they can like talk about God together, and then just as soon as he pulls up being like, yeah, all your ideas are fake, now we're gonna murder your family.
Episode 7. Oh no. The screaming of the Tyrannosaur.
Oh god.
Mr.
Oh, my God.
Beast.
Terrible performance by Mr. Beast, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah,
so flat.
I mean, I feel like he was just reading something off of a card and just kind of phoned it in. There was no enthusiasm or anything from his character at all. It was very vanilla.
Okay, well, he's a fake plastic sociopath anyway in real life. In all of his thumbnails, he's smiling like.
He is 100% a sociopath. But also, I mean, the biggest thing that hit me like significantly after. I hate Mr. Beast. I hate everything he stands for. I hate his content, okay? But I there was something eating at me that was like, there's something more wrong with this episode than just the fact that they've hired this person who I hate. And I realized it's because Mr. Beast is a kid's entertainer. His content is literally geared around like 10 to 15-year-olds, and they're putting him in an episode with like blood and gore and nipples and in the same volume with all of this sexual degeneracy. Why is he a part of this? He is a kid's entertainer.
And he was just part of a major scandal where one of his cohorts was like grooming kids or something.
This is what I think is wrong. This is what I think is wrong with us today, is because Mr. Beast is probably in this episode because Mr. Beast is very popular and people are talking about him. That doesn't mean it's going to be good content or that he is, that he's not that great of an actor. Like I said, his performance was flat.
It felt like he was reading some YouTube script.
This is the thing of like people riding the fame train. I could say this about several people, but Mr. Beast is one where, he came and he did a couple videos, got really popular, and then now they're milking it. I mean, Mr. Beast stuff comes across my feed on Instagram and TikTok all the time, and I'm not even interested in that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Mr. Beast got famous, like, sitting in his computer chair saying Logan Paul for 24 hours straight, and now he's like, all his videos are like, we restored poor African blind refugees' vision using copious amounts of our money. But let's actually talk about the episode. So, Alex, you want to break down the plot?
Oh man, I mean, it's basically just, rich people are cruel and sadistic and take advantage of poor people and force them to compete to the death. It's a tired concept. The very similar concepts have been done in better ways. Actually, I just finished reading a book called Altered Carbon, and it's great. I've also watched the show, and the show is also really good.
That's a show on Netflix, yeah.
Yeah, season 1 of it, at least, is actually really fantastic, and it kind of explores like the issues that arise from there being ultra wealthy, like ultra rich, in the same society as the poor, and very, very interesting story. But this is just like, there's just no depth to it. It's just like, yeah, bad rich people, and for some reason the competitors, like 2 of them are lovers, and they're like kissing each other while they're about to kill each other, and there's dinosaurs for no reason. The dinosaurs are too big. They're bigger than real dinosaurs. I don't get it.
That's what I love about you, Alex. This whole show is stupid, but you're mostly pissed off about the actual size of the dinosaurs.
The dinosaurs are like 3 times larger than they should be.
No, none of it makes sense. It's like, so there's the evil Mr. Beast rich people society who are hosting this gladiator dinosaur race battle to the death in space, but somehow there's gravity still. It's like on a halo ring as well. And there's the main character, the main protagonist, is a Chinese future space person who keeps having flashbacks of these random wolves.
Oh yeah, the spirit animals.
And it's just like, so they're on this race away from these triceratops, and then she has to kill her lover, or she spares her. They kiss, fight, and then she spares her, and then she's eaten by a T-Rex, and then the main character like hacks the dinosaurs' biology to make them like launch up into the air and kill rich people, and then it's just over.
I will say I do like how they killed off the emperor at the end. That was deserved, but other than that, this one was stupid.
How was it deserved? Like, okay, we get it. Billionaires deserve to die, but who even are these people? Like, who are they? There's no character development. It's just a rich dude drinking blood, and he dies, and Mr. Beast is there.
The plot behind that was he was the emperor. He was marrying into the queen, and they were having this whole gladiator thing as celebration of part of the wedding. So that's what that part was. The drinking of the blood was that too. I think the studio really thought putting Mr. Beast in this was going to make this a hit, because it seems like they cast Mr. Beast and then that was all they did. There was nothing. It seems like no effort was put into this episode.
Mr. Beast isn't even a human. He's the Antichrist.
And, I don't know. Like I said, I think they cast Mr. Beast and thought this was going to make the episode good, because it was absolutely terrible. Mr. Beast's performance was terrible.
It was, dude. He was like, and now time for the dinosaur games.
Dude,
I would have loved that. That was better.
That was better.
It was.
It literally sounded like somebody had handed him a card and said, "We're gonna record this, read this," and he just read it off. Like, now it's time for the dinosaurs to come out, and they're gonna run down the track. There was no feeling or emphasis or anything on the dialogue of this. It seemed so plain and so boring, and I don't know. Mr. Beast could have done a better job. Step it up, Jimmy.
Dude, a T-Rex of that size would literally need like 10,000 pounds of meat multiple times per day to survive. And they're just like, and the same thing with the Triceratops, like the amount of food that they would have to have on those rings to sustain those things, it just doesn't make sense. And why would you raise something that probably costs in the future terms like $20 quintillion to keep alive just to have it die?
Because rich people. God. Hey guys. How did Zeke get religion?
I think a Nazi sorceress, science experiment, Bible bad, religion, fallen angel, Nazi bomber, World War II, Nazi fallen angel happened.
You just had a ChatGPT moment.
This one disappointed me because, and I'll tell you why. This is my favorite animation style. I wanted this to be good. I really did. No story.
Dude, this show was so ass that it gave me religion. This whole entire volume should have been called How Will Got Religion.
Basically.
I feel similar about this one to 400 Boys, where like I actually do kind of like the animation style, and I actually think that some of the action is engaging. Like so in this one, I think the whole like stabbing / driving a cross into the demon is an interesting concept. And the way that they resolve it by shooting a bullet directly into the crucifix and pushing it into the demon that way, like, that's interesting. I enjoyed watching that. But again, but just like 400 Boys, there is no semblance of sense to what is going on. And there's just...
No, I said, like, that's why I was so disappointed, because, like I said, this was my favorite animation style. I loved the animation in this. I thought it was incredible, but there was no story to go along with it, and it felt like it was a waste. A waste of all the time they put into drawing this, a waste of all the time they put into recording the voices, just to have absolutely no plot whatsoever.
Can I try to explain the plot?
Yeah, go ahead.
You already did.
So this was actually the plot, and this is my honest retelling of the plot. So they just like, it shows these pilots, and it's like, yeah, Zeke never had religion, and they're not subtle about it all. He's literally like, you God. And then they go into this like military meeting, and their commander's like, yeah, this is a top secret mission. See that guy over there? His name is Mr. You don't ask. You're just going to go fly this plane and drop this bomb, and I will not elaborate further. So they're up in the air, flying over what I can only presume is like Germany. And this like scientist dude who they brought on the plane is like freaking the fuck out. He's like, drop the bomb now. Oh wait, don't drop it. No, drop it. Drop it. So they drop the bomb on this church that they don't even know what is taking place in the church. But it's this literal like Nazi voodoo sorcerer guy summoning some fallen angel from the Bible, because Nazis were famous for summoning literal demons into the world, and like
Indiana Jones, dude, we saw it happen.
So they drop
Hellboy.
The bomb. So they drop the bomb. See, so you guys are expressing how it's a tired trope that's already been used like 50 times. So they drop the bomb on this church, and this fallen angel attacks the plane, and the guy that they brought along to basically give them intel about the situation doesn't even ever tell them what's happening. He just dies. He just is there, freaks out, and dies. And then they fight this angel. You already talked about how they killed it. And then at the end, Zeke's like, oh, I love religion now. Oh, yeah, God save me. And it's like pro-religion, but at the same time, it's still anti-religion, because it doesn't even make fucking sense.
Yeah, and that's something that I want to talk about, but I genuinely actually don't exactly know what to say. But I'll just say that the religious themes in this season, or in this volume, they are weird and confusing, because they're clearly not pro-religion. But they're also not like directly making fun of religion exactly. It's confusing, and I don't really like it.
It's almost like somebody wrote about religion who has no idea what religion is.
That's exactly what I said. I literally said that while I was watching
their interpretation of what religion is, and they themselves have no religion. This is like me writing a diet book. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm still writing it. It doesn't make any sense. It just seemed like there was no. I don't know. It's like you said. It's a played out trope. The Nazis. Calling up devils and demons and during the war, and it went nowhere. And like I said, I'm so disappointed by this because I love that animation style and I wanted it to be really good. I had to fill in a lot of the plot holes. I feel like the bombing of the church was to prevent them from doing the ritual to summon the demon. The fact that he knew what it was threw me off too. He's like, it's the fallen, and I'm like, what the hell? How do you know? This whole season disappointed me. I'm so upset,
dude. I can't even. Oh my god! I just saw which episode is next. Oh my god! I need to save my energy for it.
Yeah, you mentioned episode 9 earlier when we were talking about something. I forgot what it was, but
episode 9: Smart Appliances, Stupid Owners.
So in my opinion, this is the worst one by a very large margin. Mostly due to the messaging, and the entire concept as a whole. It's basically just home appliances just complaining about how their humans are using them and what they have to put up with and how much they hate their lives. And it is the most spiritually and physically revolting things that you could possibly think of for each
spiritually
scenario.
Revolting.
Yes, spiritually. It made me want to exercise myself, and I don't mean go to the gym. I mean get an exorcist to get the demons from that episode out of me.
The jokes are not funny. At best, it's potty humor, and that's at best. Some of them aren't even really jokes at all. And it's all self-deprecating. So I actually wrote down basically the punchline for all of the little mini bits, I guess, from this episode. And they are in order. These are punchlines, by the way. These are supposed to be funny. Humans can't resolve minor arguments. Humans are lazy, disgusting, and smelly. Humans are dumb. Humans are disgusting. Humans are single and degenerate. Humans are lazy and smoke weed and never cook. Humans are degenerate. Poop and cat poop. Those are the punchlines.
Yeah, I think it's the biggest takeaway from this episode was that this is clearly how the writers view themselves. So as I mentioned earlier, the edgiest they can possibly get is brutal self-deprecation, as we've mentioned. So this is how they view themselves. We are disgusting. We have no healthy sexual relationships. We masturbate constantly and almost fetishize masturbation because it's to an obsessive amount. Our parents didn't get along. We don't have proper hygiene. We have a bunch of cats who disgustingly shit everywhere. It's just like shit, poop, disgusting animals, bad hygiene. We can't cook. We can't do anything for ourselves. We smell disgusting like a dumpster. We aren't properly having sex. It's just I almost hesitate to say this, but I feel like I have to. This is like suicide humor. This is oh, my life sucks so bad. You need to laugh at me so I can further just degrade myself. It's something else, man. It's hard to put up with.
It seemed like cats and demons were the theme of this volume.
Yep. Cats and demons.
Cats, Demons, and Aliens. New show title.
But do you guys pretty much agree with what I'm saying about this being sort of a window into the writer's perceptions of themselves?
Yeah, I couldn't say it any better. I mean,
it's basically when you do your art, you put yourself out in your art, and this is in some way it's art. It's in our opinion bad art, but people they're putting themselves out there in these movies and these short clips, and they're sad. They're I used the word underwhelming earlier, and you're right, I shouldn't use it. It was a disappointment. Every single show in this volume was disappointing in some way or another.
Yeah, I don't have much else to say about Smart Appliances. It's just not funny.
The fact that there were so many masturbation jokes, it's just that can't be, that's not normal. Like I would say like one per episode is already a bit much because it's such a like intensely sexual thing. But I mean there was the girl masturbating with the shower head, which is like so fucking weird because it's like the shower head is alive and sentient and it's not consenting to that. And they're actively like portraying it that way. So it was just uncomfortable.
I honestly feel like the like humans as portrayed by Love, Death and Robots are how Netflix, Disney, Amazon view their viewers as just like worthless, unmotivated, disgusting animals holed up in their kennels, just eating and pooping and masturbating all day. That is like how they see their consumer base. I think that is really part of the psychology here. Because here's the thing. There are a lot of people like this, like is described in this show. There's also a lot of people who are motivated, who are trying their best, who actually clean themselves. Those people exist. But so how are those people supposed to enjoy this show? Because it's not like laughing at people. It's like oh haha, we all do this, right? Oh, the security system. Oh, he uses 1234 for his password. Isn't it so funny how we don't use proper passwords? This is like a let's all laugh along at ourselves thing. But what about all the people who aren't unmotivated and disgusting and et cetera, et cetera? How are those people supposed to enjoy it? They're not, because that's not the intended consumer base. All right, guys, let's move on. For He Can Creep, episode 10. We're almost through this absolute slog of a volume.
So this was actually based on something, and it didn't intrigue me enough to like look into what it was. But this is either based on an old poem, or I think it's probably an old poem, or an old short story. And you could tell that they were biting influence from something else, but it's just like a watered down, just like not even making sense version of whatever the source material was. And I was just like immediately not interested, immediately didn't even care to follow the semblance of a story. I mean, the story is essentially there's some poet in an asylum who has a cat. Satan needs this poet to write a poem so that he can take over the world. Already lost me. And this cat defeats Satan by getting a bunch of other alley cats, and one is like
Night Hunter Moppet.
Yeah, one is the Night Hunter Moppet, which is like this Egyptian like
that
pharaoh's
made
cat.
Me giggle.
And the cats can like phase through walls and like time travel, and they defeat Satan, and then it ends by saying, "For he can creep," and then it's just over. Yeah, this one sucked. All right, let me look at who directed this. Okay, I think it says this person doesn't even deserve recognition. Never mind. These people suck.
Yeah, it was disappointing. I do feel like there were roots of a good story or a good episode there. There was potential.
This one had the most potential of all the episodes of this season, I thought.
I like the idea of the devil, negotiating with a cat. Like the scene where they walk out into the night, they're like above the city looking around. I thought that was like, if it had been written well, I would have loved that scene because I like the setting a lot. And he's referencing like when Satan takes Jesus to a high place and says, "I can give you all of these lands if you just worship me." And there's these biblical references, but it just none of it ties in. None of it makes sense. None of it has a direction. And yeah.
I thought Satan looked like Count Olaf from A Series of Unfortunate Events. Like they pretty much bit that entire character design. And I thought the art style looked like those old Barbie like animated CGI films from like 2002.
Hey, don't hate on those. Those are great movies.
I'm not hating on them. It just looked like that.
Okay. Do you guys have any, general thoughts about the show? I mean, we've kind of been sharing our general thoughts as we went, but what's on your mind?
Mine is, I didn't really have any problems with the animation of any of these episodes. My problem was that they had the potential to make something great, and it seems like they half-assed it. whether it be a narrative or a story or, basically scripting. Enthusiasm, like I said, the one about Zeke and his religion, I love that animation style. I wish that had been better. And the one, I forget what it's called, Golgotha, with the live action people, and the animation in that was good too, but it didn't go anywhere. There was no story. I liked the stop motion from the Close Encounters of the Mini-Kind. I liked the stop motion part of that. Again, no story. The Red Hot Chili Peppers, the Puppeteers, I thought it was a clever idea, but basically a concert with puppets, and there was no story behind that. All of these stories had great potential, but I feel like they did not put the effort in that they should have. I would have loved to. I would have gladly waited 6 more months for this to come out had they perfected this. I was telling Alex while you were going getting that second cup of coffee, Will, that I was anticipating this. I loved the first 3 volumes. I was so into this coming out, waiting for it to come out, that I was on Google, like, when does Volume 4 come out? What's going on? How many episodes? Excited about it. And then for it to come out and be absolutely disappointing, I'm actually hurt by that. I feel a little emotional about it. I feel like it's one of those things where you have something that you like so much that, you make it part of your routine, and then for it to just die and become something that's worthless and has no value to you anymore, it kind of hurts a little bit,
It'll be replaced by something better. I feel you, but it will be replaced by something better.
I'm sure Volume 5 is going to be a lot better. I really, but the problem is now that they've had Volume 4 is terrible, they might cancel the show.
Good.
Because it was so bad.
Every critical, they got 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. Everyone is, giving it critical acclaim. They paid for that
100% on Rotten Tomatoes. Nobody at Rotten Tomatoes watched this episode and thought it was 100%. Or
I don't know.
This volume.
I think
I feel like they paid for that rating, because Rotten Tomatoes has put some low ratings on some really great movies and some really great ratings on some absolutely garbage movies.
I mean, there definitely could be insider stuff.
I'm not a fan of it. I don't go by Rotten Tomatoes when I go to watch a movie.
Well, I don't listen to any critics, but the reason is that, like, in the modern sphere, there is this sort of cult of, I don't know what to call it, cult of ideology, where critics will watch things and they are no longer looking for plot or character development or emotional impact. They're just looking for certain boxes to be checked, and those boxes are things like the ideology is in the right place, the cast is diverse enough, things like that. And there's nothing wrong with a diverse cast. I actually think you should have a diverse cast in most scenarios. But if that's all you care about, then you start giving 100% to Love, Death, and Robots Volume 4. I mean, what I'm trying to say is I think that, like, it's possible that they could have paid for that rating. It's also possible that the people at Rotten Tomatoes are just that politically captured that they watch this and they're just like, oh yeah, so brave, daring.
There was nothing daring about this season.
Actually, I want to share a little pictograph that I drew earlier today, because I was thinking about this show and I was trying to express. I really want to, like, I don't want what I'm saying to be misconstrued as me being like anti-DEI or something like that. That's not what it is at all. It's the misprioritization.
I'm sorry, remind me, DEI, is that the ethical integration? What is that again? DEI?
That's diversity, equity, inclusion. So basically, okay. A different way I could say it is, like, I don't want it to just seem like I'm anti-woke. Like, I'm just mad because, like, there's a left-leaning bias in media. What I'm trying to say is that this cult of ideology has basically decreed that there is no such thing as story or character development or any of those things that I value. They don't need to be in media. That all you need to have is the right political messaging and a diverse cast and whatever, and you're golden. Everything's fine. And so
I think basically these movies have become propaganda, basically. Trying to tell us how to think, how to act, how to behave.
But they're not even effective propaganda. Like you could make interesting.
I miss the time when movies
propaganda.
were creative and had stories, and now it seems like, and like, I think you said it with check boxes. You know, there used to be a time where they would look at movies, they'd watch movies, they'd rate movies according to how the movie made you feel, not based on a diverse cast or the fact that the political message was right. And I'm not against diverse cast. I think it's fine to have a diverse cast, but if the story is about specific kind of people or specific type of people, then let those people be in the movie. Don't whitewash it because you feel it needs to be diverse or it's not diverse enough or something along those lines. Don't make it diverse for the sake of being political. Make it diverse for the sake of that's what the character or the story needs.
Yeah, and this is getting into something that would require like a genuine like hour more of conversation. So I guess we can kind of like wrap it up here.
Let me just share my little pictogram. This is sort of just an image of sort of what I'm trying to say here. Okay, so this is how I think movies should be constructed. You have a sturdy, well-built castle consisting of, your plot, your character development, an interesting world, to live in, all of those things, right? World building. And beneath it, you have this foundation of ideology, right? And the messaging that you're trying to get across is present and it's supporting your film, but it's not, the foundation isn't the thing that you look at, right? It's there, it's doing a job. But you don't notice it unless maybe you live in this castle, maybe you study the film, you watch it multiple times, you start to pick up on more of the, the elements that really keep this thing up and make it a long-lasting, really great fortress or movie. This is how it should be. This, I think, is what is happening in the modern day, is instead of building a solid castle on a solid foundation, they're trying to put this foundation of ideology on a pedestal, but they're not even building the pedestal well. I don't remember what I wrote here. Yeah, they're just using derivative, pointless, uninspired garbage that is just lazy writing, and they're trying to support a massive foundation of ideology on that, and it doesn't work. It's just falling flat on its face. And so I hope that sort of elaborates a little bit on my issue with the ideology stuff. It's really, my issue isn't the ideology entirely. It is how it is presented.
Yeah, I was going to say it sort of is, because it's like a suicidal, self-hatred, human hatred cult to an extent. So you have to hate that part.
In this case, in the case of Love, Death, and Robots Season 4, I very much disagree with the ideology that is purported by it. So I do have an issue with this ideology specifically. But the broader problem that exists in media is not caused by the ideology being presented. It's caused by the structure of how they are trying to present it. That's the issue.